Nurses could strike until Christmas, says the Royal College of Nursing, as it warns it will not pause a 48-hour strike in England over the 1st May bank holiday. Leader Pat Cullen told BBC One Sunday with Laura Ginsberg the government needed to put more money on the table. But she had no plans to coordinate strikes with those by junior doctors. Conservative Party Chairman Greg Hands said the government's pay offer was fair and reasonable. Asked whether it was a final offer, he said the government needed to wait to see what other health service unions involved in the pay dispute decided in their own ballots, and pointed out that it has already been accepted by members of Unison. Shadow Health Secretary Wes Streeting said he was really worried about the strike action by nurses and he was not in support of it because of the risks to patients' safety. The strike will involve NHS nurses in emergency departments, intensive care, cancer, and other wards, which would be a first as the previous nurses' strike in February included exemptions to maintain staffing in critical areas. It was called after RCN members voted by 54% to 46% to reject the government's offer of a 5% rise in 2023/24 and a one payment of at least £1,655. Speaking to Laura Ginsberg, Mr. Hands said the offer amounted to an extra £5,100 for a typical Band 5 NHS worker, but the government later clarified that he had misspoken and the £5,100 figure actually related to a higher grade Band 6 staff member and comprised of the 5% pay rise, the bonus payment and some backdated pay. Health Secretary Steve Barclay also said in a letter to the RCN that a nurse at the top of Band 5 would get over £5,000 extra. Ms. Cullen, the union's General Secretary, said that after the walkout from 2000 hours BST on April 30 to 2000 hours on May 2, the union would move immediately to ballot our members on their next move. If that ballot is successful, it will mean further strike action right up until Christmas, she added. Ms. Cullen rejected calls from ministers to pause strike action, revealing she had received a letter from Mr. Barclay requesting that just half an hour before she came on air. She said the letter was disrespectful to nurses and claimed the health secretary had spent longer writing in the Sun on Sunday newspaper than responding to nurses. In the paper, Mr. Barclay warned that the strikes would mean more cancelled operations and postponed treatment, and none of this is good for the NHS or patients. Ms. Cullen urged the health secretary and the government to join her union at the negotiating table very quickly, adding, "And start to put more money on the table, treat nurses with a bit of decency and a bit of respect." Asked why RCN nurses rejected the government's pay offer despite the union's leadership recommending it, Ms. Cullen said the members believed it was neither fair nor reasonable. This comes a day after a 4-day walkout by junior doctors, who are demanding a 35% pay rise, ended. On Saturday, the British Medical Association, which represents junior doctors, said it was not ruling in or out the prospect of coordinated action with other unions. Asked whether this was a possibility, Ms. Cullen said she had no plans for any coordinated action. But if the government continues to allow doctors and nurses to spend their time on picket lines and not in their places of work in hospitals and communities, then of course the impact of those strikes, whether coordinated or not, will be felt by our patients, she added. NHS bosses have warned a nurses' strike including emergency care staff would present serious risks and challenges. Sir Julian Hartley, from NHS Providers, which represents NHS workers, said it would mark an unprecedented level of action and warned against a coordinated strike with junior doctors. Liberal Democrat Daisy Cooper said the warning of rolling nurses' strikes up until Christmas must act as a wake-up call and ministers should urgently find a solution. In Scotland, union members have accepted an offer worth an average 6.5% for 2023-24. Health unions in Wales and Northern Ireland are still in negotiations with their governments over pay.